So, welcome back to another episode. This is another thing that I wanted to try. I'll be doing cost benefit work right on camera, and so you can see exactly how I go through it. You have to bear with my hair. I'm going through transitions of lightning, so it'll be a little quirky maybe for the next several videos that I do, and it's wet right now, so I don't want to put an implement on it to cover it. I want it to air dry. But yeah, we see and I've seen a lot of great advice and how to's online about doing cost benefit work. I've even seen people help others through examples in real time during workshops and things like that. But what I haven't really seen is someone saying, hey, this is actually how I'm going to show up. I'm going to do this cost benefit work. So you can see that I'm a regular person. This is a very accessible thing to all of us, and you can do it too. And I'm Sai, and I want you to know what I know. So let's get started and let's do it together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I have a OneNote notebook open. It is completely free. I do not pay for this, so if you don't already have like a notebook that you use that's physical or an online service that you use, you could use Google Docs, whatever you want to. I like to use OneNote because I make a lot of different like projects and notes and go through different courses and things like that, and I like to keep it super organized. So yeah, that's a free tool that you can use if you don't already have something in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and start, and I'll title this one, and the cost benefit work that I'm going to do today is one of the ones that I have probably struggled with the most. And it is that I am rejected and hated by God. So the reason I chose this one is because I have started to do auto-suggestion on it finally. And I've done auto-suggestion on I am bad, unloved. I think I've done important or unimportant, I guess, if I'm talking about the wounds. I've done unsafe. So I've done innocent, aka bad. I've done loved or cherished. I've done significant or important. I've done supported for loved and safe, and a few others. And when I started to do this one in particular, I noticed that there was like a lot of resistance. Usually when I do the auto-suggestion, it feels really good. It feels good to think, oh yes, I'm safe. Oh yes, I was innocent. Like I really feel like it's like drinking a glass of cold water on a really hot day. But I did not find the same results when I was doing I am rejected and hated by God. I felt a lot of resistance. I felt like almost discomfort and fear. So that's why we're going to do cost benefit. Thais talks about it as sort of like a window into autosuggestion. So that's why I wanted to start with this one. I think I needed to pull another layer back. I don't think my subconscious mind is ready to believe. I know it's not ready to believe that I am. The opposite of rejected for me is unconditionally accepted. Or another one that I thought of, what was the other one that I thought of recently? Is pursued. Unconditionally accepted or pursued by God. And then, of course, hated is loved by God. So right now, my subconscious mind is not ready to believe that I'm unconditionally accepted or pursued by God and that I'm loved by God. And so that's why I'm going to go through this cost benefit work. So we're going to get started. I think I'm just going to make the font a zillion times bigger because I am old. Let's make this font like 16 or something. How about? And did I make it 16? I don't think I did. Let's try that again. 16. Okay. So hopefully you can see it. This is my first video with the Game Bar. It's another free tool that I'm going to use, and I really hope for some good results because I don't want to have to do this again. And it would be sort of like a lie to pretend that I'm doing it from scratch again. Okay, so Cost benefit. So really, really simple. This isn't going to be anything fancy. I don't need a bunch of markers or highlighters or anything like that. If you don't have that and you're doing like a physical journal, don't get hung up on that stuff. If you're the type of person who really likes to color your notes in and things like that, please by all means, but you definitely don't need that. Stopping you is a barrier to entry. Okay, so cost. What does it cost me to believe the above and to let go of the above? Hopefully you guys can hear me. I noticed that my voice has lowered. This is typically more of the volume that I tend to talk in when I'm not, I think, telling somebody something on a camera, I guess. All these things that we learn about ourselves. Okay, so what is it costing me to believe the above? Let me think about that. And I might edit out my pauses or I might keep them. I truly don't know until I get into a rhythm. I feel defective. Just to expound on that, like, there is something wrong with me. I feel helpless. And you definitely don't have to know this right off the bat, but I'm noticing, just because I'm so like around the core wound work so much, I'm noticing that immediately my mind is like able to pick out these wounds that come up. Because if I feel defective, or excuse me, if I feel rejected and hated by God, there's a sense in my own, and of course it's going to be personal to you, but for me, and you don't have to have this belief, this is my personal belief, so pick your own belief and then go through the cost and benefit work, and I'm going to try to do 5 for each. And already I'm starting to feel my mood change. I'm starting to feel myself get really emotional already. So when I feel like I'm rejected and hated by God, there is this deep sense of like, well, if God loves everybody, but he doesn't love me, and if he accepts everybody but he doesn't accept me, if I'm the only person in the world, because that's what it feels like, then there must be something wrong with me. That's what's coming up there. And I feel helpless. I feel helpless because, like, there is nothing I can do to change that. I feel like this one branches off that one. Like, if there's nothing I can do, then there's no hope. There's no hope for me. Like, I should give up. Oh, interesting. So we have not enough in there. Um, because I'm typing, I'm just gonna organize that a little bit more so maybe we can see all of the wounds at the end. So I feel insufficient. Insufficient. So, like, not good enough. Alright, what else is it costing me to believe that? These are my feelings. How does it affect my actions? I might have to do more than 5. And I think that we can think through, we can use the BTEA here. When we do auto-suggestion, we can use the 7 areas of life, usually, as a guide. But here I'm just realizing, I'm not sure if I've ever heard Thais say this, probably. But I'm going to look at these areas. I'm going to look at these areas to see what happens if I hit tab. Oh, that's handy. I'm going to look at these areas to see what the costs are in each of these areas, and I might not come up with something for every area, but I'm just going to use it as a guide, just if I can't think of anything. So I want to look at actions now. Well, if I believe that I'm rejected and hated by God, and if I feel like I'm helpless and hopeless, then I don't pursue my goals because I think I'm going to fail anyway. Assume failure is inevitable. I'm going to go like this for organization's sake. Pull the wound up at the top. Not good enough. So these are all of the wounds that are gonna come up, and these wounds are probably, and it's so funny, I've been feeling so many of them lately too. And hopefully you can't hear my cat snoring. She's right next to me. Let me wake her up. Wake up, Moo. I think if I went and tried to auto-suggestion on any of those wounds, I'd probably have a really hard time being able to move through them without doing this cost-benefit work, because these ones are really, really deep for me. So I don't pursue my goals because I assume that failure is inevitable. It's another action for me. This is a little bit more abstract, but this is true. I have feelings of rejection and hatred toward myself. If you've been listening to the podcast, you'll know that that's something I've been struggling with a lot lately. And it's like, okay, well, obviously, right? If I believe, regardless of what you believe, follow this train of thought, regardless of what your worldview is, your spiritual beliefs, follow this train of thought with me. If someone believes that God exists and is this all-powerful authority in our lives, right? Whether you believe it or not, follow the train of thought. If somebody believes that, that's going to feel true for them. That's going to feel real for them. And so then imagine if that same person then believes the all-powerful authority who has the capacity and the ability and actually in reality does love absolutely everybody, but has singled them out and rejected and hated them. Imagine what a belief like that does to the psyche of that person who is carrying that belief. I remember I wrote about this in one of the podcast episodes, and I remember when I told my attachment coach about it, when I first realized, I heard it for the first time, I talked to her about it. She said, wow, to that degree? I mean, even she was like, and she didn't act like it was impossible to work through out of it, but she acknowledged that it was, it would go very deep to believe that. Okay, so let's keep going here. I assume, and this is something I've also struggled with, I assume others reject and hate me too. It's inevitable. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we pulled out 3 wounds. I think I'm gonna move on now because, I mean, that's plenty. So let's go to benefits. And I'm hoping that we'll start to find, when you go to this point, some relief in doing the work. And that's why I wanted to start with the costs at first, just to see what's really happening to me there. And one thing that Thais, she had this idea when I first started realizing this wound. She had this idea that I thought was really, really powerful. And I can't remember. I've heard somebody else say this too. I can't remember who else it was. It was the benefits. Maybe it was my attachment coach, who has also gotten her certification from Thais. The benefit of holding on onto the above. And that really, really gives you some extra breakthroughs because, well, let's do this one and then we'll go get our breakthrough. Okay, so what's a benefit? I'm going to try to do like the same amount of benefit because it's a balance, right? We're trying to balance out why it makes sense for us to do this work. So I'm thinking, if I feel, so not just to let go of the above, I think this is the piece that I need, and believe the opposite. So I'm not just letting go of the above, I'm believing the opposite. And I'm trying to think of if there's a way to have a neutral belief, like God is neutral about me. But I think it would be very hard for me to program that in because my conditioning right now says that he loves or he hates. There is no, I think neutrality, trying to program that in, would actually be much harder than that he loves me. As hard as it does feel to believe that he loves me, I think neutrality would not make sense with many other things about my worldview. So I think I need to believe the opposite, and what that's maybe going to achieve is the net neutrality. So it's not believing that God is neutral about me, it's believing that God loves me will neutralize the feeling that he hates me. So I think, sorry, I told you some of the things would be me like brainstorming with you. So let's see. Okay, where do we go from there? So believe the opposite. The opposite is going to be that I am unconditionally accepted. And actually, just really quick side note, for me, the opposite of defective is, so let me go to the bottom really quickly. So we have defective and rejected are 2 different wounds. And the opposite, you're supposed to pick like the opposite that feels like it resonates with you. And for me, the opposite of rejected feels like unconditionally accepted or pursued. And it's so funny how just like the mind and language and communication really is about the speaker and the listener, and the understanding of the choice of the words between those two people. So if a word means something to me and I'm communicating it to you, and if you don't have the same meaning that you assign to the word, we could be missing our communication even though we're using the same word. And yes, of course you can look up a dictionary definition of a word, but there's something about the choice of words in a situation. Like maybe you have two synonyms, but one is more powerful and has more weight to somebody else. I know lots of people in PDS and other communities and things like that, they feel like the opposite of rejected is supported, and that doesn't resonate with me at all. And so one of the ones for defective is a subtle difference, and to me it's like very, very powerful. So for defective, I've heard accepted, or for defective I've heard I can't actually even remember some of the ones that I've heard. I think I've heard like normal, or I can't remember some of the other ones that I've heard. But the subtle difference that I'm talking about is for defective, unconditionally acceptable. That is like that powerful difference. Like one of them makes me feel like I'm not rejected, and in fact just the opposite of that, I'm moved toward. And then the other one makes me feel the neutralization of defective. So just the ED versus the ABLE, and those two counteract different wounds for me. So that's all I wanted to say there, just as a side note. Okay, so we have here, what does it benefit me? How does it benefit me to believe, I didn't finish my sentence, I'm unconditionally accepted or pursued, all right, or pursued, and loved by God. Okay. Yeah. Again, the first thing I feel is I do feel into that opposite. Like when I picture just in a moment what it feels like to have the opposite of that, I've experienced that feeling of unconditionally accepted. And what that feels like for me is there's an analogy that I think of, and I'm going to try to figure out how to put this into words, like in a succinct way. But I think of like a child in a very safe environment who has a safe caregiver. And the child is balancing in a normal and healthy way that exploration need and the curiosity and the individuation, as well as needing that stability and the security and that comfort from the caregiver. And so in my mind, the picture that comes in is the child running out into like its environment, maybe just the street that it lives on, or the backyard or whatever, and the child is exploring and then maybe becomes either afraid or gets its need for adventure, their need for adventure in the moment satisfied, and is ready to come back and rejoin the caregiver, that the caregiver is excited to hear the adventures that the kid went on, or is willing to comfort the child if it returned because of feeling afraid. So there's this like very stable anchored presence to return back to, even if the child was a little bit prodigal. You know, there's the story in the Bible of the prodigal son, and how the father really embraced wow, so many things are coming up for me, really embraced the child when he returned. And that's what that feeling is, like, of unconditionally accepted, which is the opposite of that rejection. I feel like if I go out and I try new things and I live and embody what I feel like my desires are, my goals are, my dreams are, when I come back, I'm still receiving the same love that was there when I left. How do I say that? I feel safe. Oh, interesting. There's safe in there. I feel safe to pursue my goals, to go out, and so we have a wound and an action at the same time. Here's an action down here. That's oh, so yeah, you know, I'm just realizing then that obviously means that I skipped one. I feel unsafe, which is very interesting because I did a lot of work on unsafe, and I guess it's just deep enough that it is still there. Yeah, it is still there, or it's being reactivated. So I either needed 63 days on it, or I'm pulling one thread, but there's another thread connected. So I'm not really getting to the root of, I'm like re-traumatizing myself in a different area that maybe I didn't realize. So yeah, okay, so I feel safe to pursue my goals, my dreams, and desires, I guess I'll write. And yeah. And then that's the deepest layer. That's the deepest layer. The next layer is that I feel unconditionally accepted, which is, like I said, the opposite for me of that rejection. But I want to elaborate on this. Like, I want to elaborate what else that unconditional acceptedness feels like. It's like I know, like I know where I stand. It's like I know where I stand. I'm trying to think if there's like a wound that would be the opposite of that. Maybe worthy? I have the wounds here. Got worthy. Maybe a little bit like I belong, like I have a place to come back to. There's a lot. I mean, there are a lot of wounds that come with a belief that I am rejected by God, which is probably why it feels so bad to try to reprogram it. I've done that before. I've been able to reprogram beliefs before. When I was going through a breakup a little while ago, I literally reprogrammed I'm okay. And I went through different wounds all at once, but the common thread was the breakup itself. So it was like, I am okay in the 7 areas of life if I leave my relationship. And I said things like, I did my best to, I'm okay in the emotional area because I did my best to communicate my emotions and work through difficult things, and still come to the same conclusion, for example. So, I'm okay. Like, I didn't just like cut and run, is what that one was trying to counteract. And so there were some good examples like that. And it really helps. It really helped to sort of like put some of these wounds in a basket. But I'm thinking maybe that only worked because I had done, just coincidentally, I had happened to do auto-suggestion on the wounds that were affecting me during that breakup. They were still fresh, and so they were still coming up. So it was sort of like, I think of it as the bug spray. It was sort of like spraying like a bug that was like on its back and like already dying. And so maybe that's why that one worked, to put them all in a basket under I am okay, specific to the breakup, was because I had actually already been doing some work on those wounds already. But I haven't done any work on unworthy. I haven't done helpless, powerless. I have not done rejected, not fully, and I have not done defective, which is insane because that's one of the first ones that I should have worked on, because it's one of my biggest ones and I know that. Okay, so let's go back to this. Like, I know where I stand. There's a lot in there. I feel like feeling defective holds a lot of other wounds into it, because if I feel defective, then I don't feel like I belong anywhere, because why would me, something broken, want to like be able to be a part of a community? Like, right? I would taint the community. So let's put another couple of wounds in here. Unconditionally, acceptable, and then, or maybe we should put that one down here. Yeah, I guess in keeping with the theme, I feel. And that manifests itself as sort of like, I belong. I just can't get over the fact that there's like another wound underneath that's effective. Okay, so let's get out of feelings. Let's do more actions. I want, go back to the top. We have some beliefs and emotions in kind of wrapped up into everything. And so I feel safe, right? So safety, I guess, feels like I feel peace. And I hope you can kind of see where I'm going. I know this is, like I said, this is my first time, so I'm kind of first time doing this in this way. So I'm trying to organize it in a way that makes sense. So I'm gonna do I am here, because then that helps to maybe differentiate between the emotions versus the beliefs. I am. I don't even like to say this as an example. Sometimes I feel like I'm like programming it in, but we don't get superstitious because that's something that I can be prone to do. So I'm safe to say I am defective for the purposes of doing cost benefit work. Okay, so I don't pursue my goals. This is an action here. And what I could have even done, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna be like, is Is she okay? What I'm even gonna do, I've had another idea. What I'm even gonna do is go like this. I have feelings of rejection, and this is actually, yes, I'm gonna call this a that's gonna be an E, right? And this, I feel like that's a T. BT. Ugh. T. Right, so I feel like this is kind of the setup. So a lot of beliefs in the cost. There's a lot of more thoughts and emotions in there and things like that as well. But this is the setup. This is it. We made it. We finally figured out our strategy here. And so let's see if I can copy this and bring it down to here so that we don't lose track of it. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm back in B. B. T, E, A. All right, what are some thoughts that come up for me when I choose not to believe this anymore? So we're gonna go like this. That was actions, I think. Feel safe. I can pursue my goals, dreams, and desires. Okay. Emotions, I saw emotion here. I feel peace. Beautiful. I feel, I'm gonna put this as an emotion. Because that feels good. That feels like I feel safe. I mean, it is like safety. The feeling of safety is something that I can feel. I lost track of how many buttons I clicked. I belong. Okay, yeah. This is what we're gonna do. This is the setup. And then what do I think? What do I think if I am unconditionally accepted or pursued and loved by God? I am special. I really do feel like I'm special. So look at that. Whoa, we have another wound come up in there. I'm so particular. I am control U, control B, significant. And this isn't above anybody else, but it's just me at my core. Like, because I'm loved, me at my core, I am special. So that's beautiful. I think that I'm special. Okay, wow. So I'm gonna go in and throw this. I'm gonna go in and throw this up here. A lot of wounds coming up there, and this is exactly why I can't do auto-suggestion on that catch-all belief, because there is so much. There's so much going on. Insignificant. Actually, no. Oh, I'm realizing something. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's not that I do feel special, but the opposite of me feeling special in this case is not insignificant. What is it? It's like special in a bad way. Like a pariah. So it's like I'm unique but bad. And I know that that's like back to defective. Okay, so maybe that's defective. There's so many things going on. I think it is uniquely defective. What's that? What's uniquely defective? Ooh, okay. I'm just gonna write uniquely defective and then figure that one out later. I'm gonna add that as a bonus wound. Yay! Bonus wound. I have to figure out what that is. Looking at the core wounds list again, what could possibly be uniquely defective? There's a lot in there, because if you feel like you're uniquely defective, then we can go back to helpless, powerless right here. There is really something going on there. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it and then figure it out. So that's what this one counteracts right here. So it's not significant. I don't feel like I'm significant. It's more like I'm like neutral. That's the opposite of it. It doesn't feel like, when I feel the wounds, it feels like compared to everybody else. Like I'm unique compared to everybody else in a bad way. But when I feel the opposite of the wound, it's like I'm just like everybody else. Not that I'm better. That's what it feels like. That's what feels good, is to feel like, oh, I'm just like everybody else. I'm like neutral. I'm human. Maybe that's what it is. I'm human. Wow. Human. That's what this thought makes me feel here, this belief. And I know maybe that doesn't make any sense, but to feel like, oh, God favors me, he loves me, makes me feel, because that's what he says he feels about human beings. So it makes me feel human, to feel loved by God. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop there. That's given me a lot to work with. I think the next steps would be, what would the next steps be? Definitely autosuggestion on one of these at a time. No more catch-all for this particular belief. And I think the two that I'm really gonna try to work on, I'm gonna try to pull out 2 autosuggestion goals coming up. And I'm so quirked on this one. This is so quirky. I have done so much work on unsafe. She's snoring so loud. But must be there's really... I just feel like if you have any core wounds, it probably leads back to unsafe. So I really did see a lot of momentum starting with unsafe. That was the first one that I did. Must be if you have any core wound, really, you can kind of go back to this belief that you're unsafe. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out 2 wounds. I'm gonna work on helpless and defective. Oh, and I totally skipped rejected. Obviously, if I'm rejected by God, I feel rejected. So maybe I'll start with those 2. I'm gonna start with rejected and defective. Yeah, and some actions that I'm gonna do is I've honestly, I've been really proud of myself. I've been, regardless of feeling this, I have been taking small steps to continue pursuing my goals. And the reason I'm proud of myself for that is because a lot of that has come about in moments where I'm not really feeling the wound super strongly. And so I've set up these habits for myself so that now, even when I am feeling the wound very strongly, I kind of just am doing the routine. So that's been very helpful, and that's an encouragement to you too. As you start to build habits, when you go through these dark nights of the soul, you will, that's the whole deal, right? Like, that's what we do, is we reprogram so that our fallback is good, it's healthy for us. So I'm still such a long way out, but That's been one of the things that I actually have seen as an example and as a witness of my the progress that I'm making. So I'm gonna, as far as action reprogramming, obviously doing auto suggestion is an action, but I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that in the beliefs world, and I'm going to. I know what I'm gonna do. In art therapy, my really, really amazing facilitator of that work said to me, because I was really hearing a lot of mean voices, a lot of really, really mean voices come up. Again, why would that be? Because this is my belief. And I told her, she asked me, how can I protect myself from the voices? And I told her, well, I can listen to them. I can just see, like, what information are they trying to give me? And what can I learn from what they're trying to say? And she actually challenged me. She doesn't do that a lot. She usually, like, helps me move through something, or like think about it in a different way. But this was like a very direct challenge. She said, I want you to actually transform that. I don't want you to do that. And she went on to explain that, like, even if there's 2% of truth in something, it never needs to come from an abusive place. And the voices, they were abusing me. They were so mean. They were saying to me things like, when I say voices, I say that very carefully. I just mean, like, my internal critic, my inner dialogue was very, very unkind to me in this period of time. And she said that you can find out the truth in healthier ways. And it made me realize that I have a subconscious comfort zone and a very, very high tolerance for abusive voices. And what I do when I hear an abusive voice is I take it on and I go, oh, how can I be better? And because I feel like I have to do that to stay safe. I have to do that to stay in connection with the person, or I have to do that to be a better person. I have to do that to be more acceptable to God, is to refine myself and do all this personal growth stuff. And in that way, personal growth can sometimes be, for me, a bit of a poison dart. And so I have to be very, very careful with anything, right? There's always a balance. There's always another side to the other edge of the sword, a double-edged sword. And so what she told me to do, and this is the action, is to say no, to just say no to those voices. I will not listen to those voices. And so think of yourself in, like, a relationship with anybody, a friendship, parental dynamic, something at work. If you say maybe had an attitude with a person and they want you to change their behavior, you've hurt them. If they come at you and say, you always do this, you're a horrible person, I can't believe you did this, you are always going to be like this, you are toxic, if they come at you with this cocktail of very, very, that's like abusive to berate somebody that way. I don't like to use the A word loosely, but it is. That, especially over time, is very abusive to do to somebody. And that's very different than saying to someone, hey, I've really felt hurt by what you said, like, can we work through this? And here's what came up for me. Those are two different things, reactions, that can come out of you doing an action as giving someone an attitude. You never deserve abuse. You never ever deserve it, even if you are sort of guilty, so to speak, in the sense that you did commit the action that they're saying that you committed. It's the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves, or the stories that people tell to us about ourselves, that where the abuse lies. Because if someone said, when you had a tone with me, this is how I felt, they're still telling you about what you did, but they're not telling you a story about yourself. They're telling you a story about themselves. And I think that's the separation, is that I was so willing to believe that there was something wrong with me, that even in an abusive voice, I was willing to take that on. And so I have to change my tolerance for any abuse at all. There's no truth. Even if there's 2% of truth, there's no place and there's no truth in abuse in and of itself. So if there is, and I think on the flip side too, even if there is 80% of truth and then 20% abuse, there's going to be no tolerance in my system for abuse. And that's how, when I change that internal dialogue comfort zone for myself, that's actually how I protect myself from partners who will do things like that to me, from friendships, from career relationships who will do things like that to me, is to say something abusive and then me take it on and go like, okay, how can I have handled that better? Or how can I, of course, introspection is preferred and essential to personal growth and to true healing and true change, but to not even create a space in my life for that abuse. So all of that to say, I'm going to work on the wounds of I am rejected and defective. Those are going to be my next two. And then after that, during that, I'm going to work on the action of when the thoughts come up. I'm going to do a thought interruption, cognitive interruption, and say, no, there's no room for these voices in my life. If there's truth about something that I need to work in to change, it can come from a different place. You're going to have to start talking to me in a way that is more loving and unconditionally accepting. And then I'm going to listen. And yeah, I think that's going to be my work to do. Wow. This was a really interesting experience. I don't know if you found it helpful, but I found it immensely helpful. I feel so good. I feel weird. Like I have my work cut out for me, but I guess I have been feeling like that for a very long time. So I really hope that this helped you. And please leave a comment if it did. Thanks for listening.